welcome back to our quadratic series for 5.3 mathematics. In this video we are going to look at factorizing non-monic trinomials. We're going to look at one particular method of doing this and focusing on that. In the past we have factorized different types of expressions. We've also factorized monic trinomials. And now we're looking at non-monic trinomials. So monic is where a equals 1, so the coefficient of x squared is 1. That's monic trinomials. We've also looked at the different types of trinomials where the coefficient of x squared is not 1, but you can pull out a common factor using that and then factorize from there. In this one, we can't do that, so we are going to call them non-monic trinomials and work from there. Now, in our non-monic trinomials, this is our general form. This is what they look like. And this is the important bit here. We're not using 1 for the value of a, okay? And a is that first coefficient. So the number, or the method rather, that we are going to use is this one, where we are going to find two numbers that give the product of A and C. So that's the first part of this. So previously we were looking for two numbers that would multiply to get C, but add to get B. For this one, we're going to find two numbers that will give the product of A and C, so A times C, but still add to get B. Okay, so it still needs to add up to B. So we're going to multiply A and C and then find factors of that will give us B, essentially. Okay? Let's look at a quick example of that. So very quickly, we've got 15x squared minus x minus 6. So there's our example. E.g., A equals 15, B equals minus 1, C equals minus 6. So these are, you need to be able to identify which bit is A, B, and C. Now what we want to do is we want to go A times C, and now I'm using the little dot for multiplication so that we stop getting confused between x's and time signs. Alright, so in this one we're going to have 15 times minus 6. 15 times minus 6, well, that is minus 90. So what we want is we want factors of 90 or factors of minus 90 that sum to minus 1. Okay, and now we've got 15 and minus 6. Well, that's not going to work in terms of those factors. We could have 30 and 3 and one of those be negative. That's still not going to get us anywhere. So let's look at those other factors, and I'm going to find minus 10 and 9, because if I take minus 10 and multiply that by positive 9, I'm going to get minus 90. If I take that minus 10 and add 9, I'm going to get minus 1. Okay, so we're going to use those factors. Now, I'm just going to rewrite my problem over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break up the minus x into minus, because those two together will make minus 1x. My 15x squared stays the same. My minus 6 will stay the same. But now I'm going to have minus 10x plus 9x in the middle. All right, so minus 10 plus 9, well, that's minus 1. That is going to give us the equivalent of what we've started with. Okay. My next step now is I'm going to break those 4 terms up into 2 pairs of terms, and hopefully what I've done is I've written it out in a way that makes common factors. Occasionally you won't, but there's a little bit of a trick to that as well. So in here we have a common factor of 5x. So I pull that out in the first pair. That gives me 3x minus 2. Then I have a plus there. And then I have 9x and minus 6. A common factor there is 3. And then if I do that, I can actually go 3x minus 2. Now, if you notice, the 2 bits I've got in brackets at the moment, they match. So they are a common factor. It's probably not the best way to describe it, but they're common between the 2 pairs, so they become one of our factors. And then the other 2 bits of information, the 5 and 3, becomes the other bracket. And now if we were to expand that out, we'd get our 15x minus x, 15x squared minus x minus 6 once again. Now this can also be written because it is multiplication that we're working with, so it really doesn't matter which order we set them in, as long as it works all the way back to the beginning again. Okay, let's have a look at some more examples. We're going to have some trickier ones as well down the track. So here's our first example. We've got 6x squared plus 19x plus 10. Identify my A, my B, and my C. I'm going to do 6 times 10. Well, that equals 60. I want factors of 60 that will add to 19. Well, that's going to be 15 and 4. 15 times 4 being 60 as well, so that works perfectly. Keep my 6x squared and my plus 10. Then I'm going to go plus 15x plus 4x plus 10. Break that up into my sections. And pull out my common factors. So 6x squared and 15x. 3x is common. Gives me 2x plus 5. Then I've got 2x is common. And 2 again, or 2x rather, because 2 is common, not 2x. Plus 5. Those brackets match once again, so we're doing this correctly. And then Bob's your uncle, we've got our brackets, we're fully factorized. Now don't forget, also be written in this way, because it's multiplication. It doesn't really matter which way around it goes. Let's do our next one. Right, we've got A, B, and C. A times C, well, that's going to be 9 times minus 8. That's going to be minus 72. All right, so then we want factors that multiply to 72 but add to get 6. That's going to be 12 and minus 6 to get plus 6. Okay, there are our factors. Okay, so this is what we want. Okay. Alright, so we keep our 9x squared. We keep our minus 8. Break up our plus 6. So plus 12x minus 6x. Break it into pairs. Alright, and then we're going to have 3x inside of 3x plus 4. And we kind of want that to happen again, that 3x plus 4. So if we distribute that minus, alright, we can have minus 2 is our common factor, 3x, and then minus 2 and minus 8. If you divide minus 8 by minus 2, we get plus 4, which is exactly what we want. We get 3x plus 4 and 3x minus 2, or 3x minus 3x plus 4. One last example. This one's going to be quite long, so buckle up. Now, here is my recommendation. I recommend that we do this in sections. So we do this one, then we do this one, and we factorize each section out. Then we factorize that one, then we factorize our last one. Okay, do each one of those pieces individually. If you try to do them all the same at the same time, you are going to run into problems. Okay, so I'm going to do each of these in a different color. So let's look at 4x squared minus 9. Well, that's a difference of 2 squares problem. So if I take the square roots, just like that, and now I can put them into brackets. But remembering, I need to have a positive in there as well. There's the first part of my problem done. Well, factorized. Not the first part of it completely done, but the first section factorized. And this is going to help us long term. First numerator done. Let's look at the second numerator. Okay, I want to multiply the 10 and the 3. That gives me minus 30. So I want something that will multiply to minus 30 but add to give me 13. Alright, obviously it's not going to be 10 and minus 3 because that would add to get me 7. It can't be 10 and 3 because that would not actually give me what I need. Because it still needs to, well, it could add to that, but it's not going to work how we want it to work. So I am going to use, so my 10x squared and my minus 3 right there. Alright, and I'm going to use my 15 and a minus 2 because 10 and 3, well, that will add to 13, but it won't multiply to minus 30. So that's what I want. So I have plus 15x minus 2x. Now, it does look a little bit wonky because we don't really have a common factor for the second set, but it is going to work, trust me. Alright, so 10x and 15x, well, that's going to be 5x outside of 2x plus 3. I distribute that negative in between, that little negative in between. I distribute that through, and I have my minus 1, 2x plus 3, which is exactly what I want. 2x plus 3, 5x minus 1. There's my first denominator done. Okay, let's move on to the next one. have 25x squared minus 10x plus 1. So I need to multiply to 25 but add to minus 10. Well, that's going to be minus 5s. Okay, get my pairs going. And I'm going to have 5x minus 1. And I have the minus 1, 5x minus 1. And we actually have 2 brackets that'll be the same. And we pop that in. So that's our second numerator. And now we just need to do the last one. Let's squeeze the last one in. We're going to have 10x squared minus 17x plus 3. This time we are going to positive 30. So we're going to have 2 negative numbers. Actually, we're going to have minus 15 and minus 2. Okay. Bring our brackets together. We have our 5x outside of 2x minus 3. Have our minus 1 out the front. And then we'll have 2x minus 3. Alright, because minus 1 times minus 3 is plus 3. Please don't forget that. Gives me the 2x minus 3, 5x minus 1. It's the last part of our second fraction. Okay, so we've factorized each section. And now what we can do, because we have multiplication in here, we can find common factors across the numerators and denominators to reduce or cancel things out. Okay, we can reduce and cancel things out. So let's have a look at that. We've got 2x minus 3 in our first numerator. If we go across to our second denominator, we have another 2x minus 3. So each bracket is its own, very own special factor. So that will cancel out and become 1. Cancel that out and become 1. So we're reducing what we've got in our fraction. That 2x plus 3, well, it's got a common factor on its own fraction. It all becomes 1. The first minus 5x over here, well, it comes over to here. And then the last one cancels all the way out. We've reduced our problem now to 1 times 1 over 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 over 1 times 1. And that just gives us 1 as a solution. Lots and lots of work just to get to the answer of 1, but it is worth it in the long run. Trust me on that one. Hopefully this video has been helpful. Good luck with your questions and see you in the next video.